This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to Teach Me Pokemon, the podcast. I'm your host, Cory, and along with my co-host, Jared, we're best friends, been playing Pokemon for a very long time.
Well, welcome to a very spooky episode of the Teach Me Pokemon podcast. It's going to be spooky here for another couple weeks. Here as we are back from a tournament and so much to talk about this week.
True. You're right. We were at a tournament?
Oh, yeah. We were.
Oh, I totally.
And the reason it's such a spooky episode is I'm haunted by my performance.
You're fine. You were fine. Are we just diving in? Are we just starting off here with this?
Our episode today, we're going to talk about our Louisville experience, also what we saw from the tournament as well. A couple of fun side things, and then as always, we have a great education moment for you.
Perfect. I love it. That's a good structure. I mean, we should just be praising the fact that we got to go to a regionals, because that may be the only major event that we make it to.
Yeah,
or maybe not. I don't know.
Let's talk about it on a personal level first, Cory. Like, we get to do this the older we get, once, maybe twice a year, as you mentioned.
Yep.
What did this tournament, apart from the competitive side, mean to you?
Just for us personally?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, it was good. We got to go together. I think that is always a lot of fun. We don't, we said the last time you and I got to go to regionals together was Knoxville. It was like two years ago.
Yeah, 2022 right? Knoxville. Yeah.
And if you are a avid listener or watcher of the podcast, we were not prepared for that tournament. We got in about an hour before it started. We were getting cards at Target, 2 hours before it started. We were piecing together, you ran a Vikavolt item lock deck. And then I had this Sableye and Teleon weird madness, and we just weren't ready,
ready.
So this tournament marked the first time where we really kind of came in somewhat prepared, which was nice. But the biggest thing that I think I enjoyed was we had a new crew member, and their name was not Logan, who sometimes their name was Eli, known as Elijah, known as the next big junior threat in the Pokemon TCG. Your son got to play in his first major event, and just seeing him, and you can speak to this as the dad, but as the pseudo uncle, just being worried that he wouldn't find his way, because, his dad and his uncle got to play in the Masters division. We couldn't help him, get to his table when his start time was 9 a.m. and ours was 8:30. But watching him be able to navigate it, get off to a 2-1 start, but more importantly, just like he kept his head up, there were no big meltdowns or cries. That was so fun, at least in the first day of the regionals. That was like my highlight, was just doing that with him and seeing maybe a path forward to doing some more, as long as, Elijah's coming along with us, and we can see how that works. So that was
I agree. That was watching my son play was a high as well. I was tearily texting my wife about it during the tournament, as he would look over to the side and I'd shoot him a wink and he'd wink back at me. And but it was his first exposure to that, and I'm so proud of his willingness to play and participate. And even when the games didn't go well after 2-1, because he'd been playing kids that had been playing for years, he stuck it in there. And then we all he and I both dropped when we were statistically eliminated from the tournament. And then we got to go do the stuff that I think he enjoys more right now, which is let's go play side events and get tickets. And and another thing I have to shout out to the community on is two things. This is the Pokemon Community Lodge. There are two big things that happen in this tournament that just remind me how cool the Pokemon community is. One, I lost my wallet on a Friday at the tournament. Just gone.
Which was just so you.
Left it. It's 100% on brand.
Can I tell you something? And you can't be mad. More like Elijah can't be mad. You went off to go get your wallet, like to see if it was in the lost and found. So it was just him and I were walking around. Oh, no, you went to get breakfast.
Yes.
Remember, you went to go get us some Pop-Tarts and stuff. And it was just him and me and Elijah, and we're walking around. We're going to like the little vendors and stuff. And he was like, "Do you think Daddy is going to find his wallet?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Someone will turn it in. He'll find it." And Elijah's like, "Yeah, he always loses stuff." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "That's been your dad since I've known him in college. Your dad always lost his wallet, his keys, his phone. It's like a running joke." And he was like, "Well, yeah, that hasn't changed." And it was just funny that your son knows you. You lost your wallet.
I am who I am, Corey Dickman. I lose things and I lose matches. That's how it goes. But no, but that was, and it got turned in. That's the conclusion of the story. Like I told him I'm not worried.
Yeah.
Like the Pokemon community is just strong together. People would drop stuff. 10 people would rush in to help pick up the stuff. Like there's just not a lot of animosity in the Pokemon world, which is why I think it is a safe place for my son. A safe place for a lot of different people. So I really, really, really liked that. Another cool thing happened. I believe it was either an older junior player, maybe a younger senior player, but this young lady, as we were in the prize line, walked up to my son, just handed him 200 tickets.
No.
200 tickets, Corey.
And for reference, people who weren't there, like you could get a pack
for 10.
10 tickets.
10. She in essence just handed him 20 packs.
That's like, where do you see that?
And yeah, it's just kindness, like just common courtesy towards other people. So whoever turned my wallet in, thank you to the young lady who handed my young son just a big smile and a boost. Thank you to her as well.
Yeah, man, that's so big time. And then we've preached that on this show thousands of times. We're just like, the game itself and the community, you're going to have your bad apples. That's just part of life. But like nothing compared to some of the other card games out there. Really, really good people and doing nice things. And in a venue hall that big, someone should have just grabbed that wallet and just taken it, right? Yep. But they doing the right thing and turning it in. And it just speaks to the culture that's been created. And I think that's, sometimes we get frustrated, I think, at Pokemon International because it's not competitive enough. They weren't putting enough resources in these tournaments. The prize money wasn't there. The structure wasn't great. Maybe still isn't great. But at the end of the day, they have created that family culture and making it the brand of Pokemon. And that's still at the end of the day what people I think really truly enjoy about it versus other games out there. So shout out to whoever turned it in. If you listen to our show, leave a comment. Say
we got something for you. We got something for you.
Yeah, we'll send you a credit card out of Jared's wallet. We'll send it to you. So big shout out to whoever turned it in. So good.
Oh, that's so funny. But apart from that, we did get to compete. I want to delve into that. First, Corey, we have to say congrats on your day 2.
Thank you.
Well done, sir. Yeah. Let's start with you. For those of you that don't know, we were kind of keeping it a little hush-hush last week, but we were both running Gholdengo.
Yep.
I was running a close version to what some of the top finishers at Worlds were running. Yeah. And Cory was running, I think, the same 60 as Hele was in Dortmund.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you had told me, probably about a month ago, maybe less than that, you were like, this is the deck. I mean, Gholdengo plays really well into everything. You need to try it. You were just telling me. And I was like, I think I was testing Stefan's list from Dortmund and then some other stuff. And I just wasn't, control is always where I'm going to want to try to land, but I just didn't feel as strong. And so you told me to try it. And I was like, I just tried it. And it did. It played really well into a lot of the meta decks right now. But I liked Hele's list because, as we've talked about in past episodes, I'm not going to flip a coin. If I don't have to flip a coin, I'm not going to flip a coin. And if you're going to run the version you did, you're relying on the strength that you can flip those item cards to yank stuff out versus the heavier list with the prime catcher and the boss orders, which do limit your, how many times would I have killed to Cypher Maniac a boss order, which would have been so nice. But like, it hurts that element of it, but there's a little bit more, I think, consistency in the build that I ran. So yeah, so the first time ever we both ran kind of the same deck.
Yeah.
We've talked about, I don't know how many major events you and I have played in together. It's over 10 probably, but we've never run the same 60 or close to. So that was fun. We got to
Oh,
do
no,
that.
that was a lot of fun because you could sit down. We're still talking about the same mindset here of we're not afraid of getting Iono'd. We're not afraid of getting unfair stamped. This deck draws,
Yep.
and then just builds up that energy pool in the discard pile for you to revisit later in the game. It has sniping potential. It has pivot potential in the Palkia. I think it's very strong, but as you can see from the meta share, it's still a minority deck.
It is. It was at that bottom. I mean, when you saw like in totality, the day 2 decks, it was in other. Like it doesn't get its own category yet. But it plays really well into, the Raging Bolt matchup is not that bad, right? It hangs super tough with Regidrago as we'll kind of go through my pathway here. Kind of helped rejuvenate day 1 was hitting some Regidragos, and that was nice. The Dragon Bolt matchup is a little iffy, but if you can get the Greninja snipe out turn 2, you're fine. You're in really great position. I never did hit a Terapagos, and notice we're saying it correctly this time. Terapagos. I mean, we're not known for
which pronunciation guidelines are you looking at? Terapagos, Terapagos, Terapagos. What do you want? What do you want?
The Greek pronunciation. And so I never did run into one, but it was a great call, Jared. And so it still shows. You still got the deck building and you can see the angles, which is just as important in these tournaments as playing it. So kudos to you. I'm glad we chose it. It was a fun deck to run, all the drawing you can get and all the different outs. Like I think there's still obviously misplays that I had that I'm just like, oh, if I had done that differently, I could have bettered my chances to spike an energy off a coin bonus or something that would have turned the tide of the match. So good deck. Do you mind if I run through who I played?
Please.
I said I'd give them all shout outs and then they said they'd listen to the podcast. So
a fair trade.
Just a quick one. Josh Allen, round 1, good dude, not the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen. This is a different Josh Allen. Brooke Wagner running Raging Bolt. I think it was over very quickly. They had me down in about 10 minutes. So it was very quick. It allowed me to go to the bathroom, which I appreciated. Joseph Hildebrand, round 3, Johnny Hernandez. So that started me off. I was 2-2 to start this tournament off, feeling a little down. You and I chatted starting in round 5 because I was 2-2. You were 2-1-1.
2-1-1. Yep.
And then Elijah was
2-1.
2-1 or 2-2 after 4 rounds.
He was 2-2 at that point.
So we knew round 5 was the make or break, right? We all had to win out at that point. And so round 5, Alonzo Salgado, great dude. Abel Flores, round 6. Jacob I, round 7. Played it really well. I'm so sorry your fire energies were prized. I might have lost that if that hadn't been the case. And then I'm going to call him a hometown guy, Brandon Stull, who plays around the Waco area. He's based in Killeen. Been a guy that has been at locals here with me at League Cups. Like I've known Brandon for a while, and his son Will is in the senior division. I met him when he was a junior. Really, really good dude. So Brandon was the winning in, I guess, to day 2. Dragon Bolt took that down. And then Jared, we should have just ended there. We went to dinner. We went to dinner. We had pasta, old spaghetti.
We were feeling good.
Yeah.
We were feeling good.
Elijah was happy. We were watching Dude Perfect videos. It was just had a insomnia cookie. I mean, we chilled in the hotel room, watched, I want to say my Oregon Ducks because I'm more of an Oregon State fan, but hometown Oregon Ducks hang on for the win against Ohio State. Like it was just a good night.
Great night.
But then we had to go back for day 2, which was fine. Round 9 started off with a painful tie. Ethan Reibel, good player, man. He played it really well. I won game 1 and then ended up dragging out a loss into game 2 when I should have just scooped it. That was one of my mistakes. I thought I could maybe still pull that match out, and it was close. But in my reality in this era, Jared, where you just can't tie anymore, I should have just scooped game 2 and just gone to game 3. And that was idiotic because then I could have gone first and really had a better position. He was running Regidrago. That was a tie. And then Olivia Ambrosetti, really nice player, super chatty, was really sweet. Lost that match to her. Then round 11 was James Bratton on Iron Thorns, and I had a chance to get the donk on him, missed by 1 energy in game 3, and then I knew after that it was over. And then Frank Lucanio, I'm not probably saying that right. He's a coach. He coaches in San Francisco. He coaches Pokemon players. Him and his wife do that. And that was a tie. So, day 2, Jared, not great. 0-2-2, not a great day 2 performance. But as we saw, and we may talk about this here in a second, even if I had gone 4-0, I still wouldn't have made top cut. So it still would have been a little frustrating. So anyway, shout out to all my players there. Give a shout out in the comments. Tell our people if I was a nice person or not. Because sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I just don't talk. I don't want to talk to you. Let's just play the cards. Just play the cards, man. That's why we're here.
Just run.
Yeah, I try not to say good luck. I don't know if you do this, but it's always the fist bump, right? When you flip over, like good luck. I never say good luck. I'm like, let's go. Because I don't mean it. I don't mean it. I hope you have terrible luck. I literally hope your opening hand is snot, like just awful. And then I just donk you going second. I do not wish you good luck. So I'm not going to lie to them. So I was like, good, let's go. Okay. Mm-hmm.
In my mind, it's a balance out. They're sending you good luck. I'm sending them good luck. Great. So it just balances out.
Give me the good luck. Thank you. I'll take the good luck. Better to be lucky than good, Jared. Old Phil Hellmuth, poker player, said all the time, if luck wasn't involved, I'd be the best player in the world. So
I think most competitors think that. So thank goodness there's variance in the world, so that the most egotistical people in the world aren't the best players in the world.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true. But yeah, man, so that was the tournament. It was good to get back to do a day 2. We don't get to play in these very often anymore. So we have to savor the moments. So what was side events like for you? What was day 2 like for you with Elijah and all that?
Side events was a lot of fun. There was a cup that morning. We didn't register the night before. We didn't know. We were new to a cup at a big regional. So we said, that's fine. We wanted to just keep playing pods to get tickets. So we would just play pods. And I love playing pods because people are usually still playing meta stuff at pods. So it's still good practice. They still want to win. They're incentivized, but it's chiller.
Yeah.
Like you're not like so stressed out. Usually you're playing with your buddies. And it's fun. And we'll shout out a new friend of the podcast, Anne and her son, who we were chatting with. And Anne told us about something that was another side event that we have to talk about before we get back into the meta.
We got to talk about this because I think as our future for you and I go as pokey parents, you want to call it, we'll always mix it up in the Masters. We're still going to. Can't stay away. But there is another possibility for us, Jared.
Absolutely. And I may just be new to this. I am a newer Pokey Dad, as I mentioned. We went to a regionals and just played side events last year. We're at league. We're still year 1 here for Elijah, right? But I had another parent tell me this day 1, and then Anne brought this up in a pod day 2. There's now a parents tournament.
Unreal.
It's such a great idea. So they told me it was 3 rounds. And it synced up perfectly with the juniors. So juniors round 1 started, and then parents round 1 started. It was right next to each other. And then you played until the lunch break.
Wait, the parents were next to the juniors?
I believe so, yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So you're able to help. If you finish before your junior, go watch your junior. If your junior finishes first, they could come over and watch you. And I think it was senior parents too, right? It was just a parent of a player in the tournament. But I love this. I think I honestly, had I known that, would have gone and played in that and not played in the main tournament this time around.
Yeah, no. And do you know if the rule is you had to have a kid in the tournament?
I don't know how they qualified it. I would love some more information. If you're listening and you have some more information, send us that. But I just think it's a great idea because, Cory, how many parents do you see sitting around at these tournaments? Like there's a whole 2 section of chairs that don't face the main stage where you can watch the stream of people just
passed out.
Yeah.
Dude, I should have just taken pictures of every parent I saw sleeping in a chair. It was over under, Jared, 5.5. What would you take? 6 or 4? What would you take?
Oh, I'd definitely go over.
It was way over. It was like 11. So, it was so many. And then there's like the circle tables, which is like the cliques from high school, where you just see all the parents just chilling at those tables with all the snacks and all that stuff. So they're chilling. But you might as well play because you're probably practicing with your kid anyway.
Yeah.
So, you might as well. My pitch to you with this was, and me, I just can't take it as it is. I have to make it bigger and better. This needs to be heavily sponsored by Verizon, AT&T, State Farm. Airbnb would be the slam dunk sponsor of this parent tournament. Rope it off. Like, like when we go to Gen Con, Jared, and there's like sections where like, this is the Catan area. And this
Right.
is very
you cannot get in there. It's all stanchioned off.
It's all stanchioned off. So you stanchion this off as the parent tournament zone. Put all the logos up around the banners as they're sponsoring this. And let's throw some heavy money into this parent tournament because these are parents. Okay. These aren't 21-year-olds. Okay. These are parents. They got to pay the bills. And you could attract literally to a point. And I'm not talking about like $200. I'm talking about first place $50K. Like you get some heavy sponsorship to pay for a parent tournament. That becomes almost more lucrative than the main. And you will get parents dragging kids to a regionals because they want to play in the parent tournament. That kid could not even know what the heck they're doing in the junior. All of a sudden, the junior entry pool, Jared, is like 3,000 juniors at the Pokemon tournament. And you know what? They got to pay. I mean, $50 a kid or
Well,
what?
I think we talked about this. I think that's what's most concerning because I think all of a sudden the top Masters players, would start showing up with kids of their own, whether legitimate or not. If the prize pool of the newly founded Parents League suddenly surpassed all the hard work that has gone into providing higher prize pools for Masters level players.
When did Tord get a kid?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Tord's been hiding this 8-year-old since he was 14. Like what? Where all these kids coming out of the woodwork?
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
Goodness.
That would be. I don't know, but all joking aside, I think that parent tournament is really cool, and I think that could become something because you want juniors to be involved in this. That's the lifeblood of Pokemon is this family fun game. So I thought the parent tournament. I wish you had played in it. That'd have been fun.
It would have. I would have had a lot of fun. It would have been interesting to see because I'm sure you have parents like me who have played for a long time and they're in there trying to be competitive. It probably spreads the gambit of what's going on here, which is really, really interesting and really, really cool.
For sure. No, I love it. Can we talk about the format real quick?
Yeah, I want to talk about the format and then I'd love to get into breaking down the meta. So when we're talking about format, we're going to gripe here a little bit. I don't want to condemn the entire tournament or anything like that, but there are some tweaks about the new way that they're formatting these rounds that it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, Corey.
No, it doesn't. Let me read some tweets real fast just to kind of preference this. So, and maybe before I read the tweets, Pokemon changed this season. If you aren't aware, if you've been living under a rock or something, and instead of 9 rounds, which has always been traditionally what it is, you can go 6-1-2 or 6-2-1. You just have to have 19 points. And then you go into day 2, this was last season, and you'd have 5 rounds, maybe even sometimes 6 rounds, but you would then go to your top cut. If you went 6-2-1 or 6-1-2 in day 1, you had a chance to top cut. If you won out, you could top cut. And we had, Aiden Coos was on the podcast last season. That's what he did. He was 6-1-2, I think, or 6-2-1, then ran the table. Yeah. They were. We had talked about this. How many tournament winners actually had just done their winning in, and then made the run in day 2. This tournament in Louisville, based on how many players there was, it was probably like 100 players away from it getting to that next level, which would have had it be an extra round, which would have, I think, made this better. But because it wasn't, we did 8 rounds in day 1. So you had to go 6-2 or better to make day 2. And then you had 4 rounds in day 2. And there were several people, Jared, that went 6-2 in day 1 and then 4-0 in day 2. And everybody missed top cut because it was 31 points was the cutoff. And so many people had 30. And this tweet from Alex Shemansky got 18th, tied for 32nd, went from 4-0 in day 2. This is nonsense. It genuinely makes me want to quit, is what Alex said, who is a very, very prominent player. And then some other kudos. Ian Robb had mentioned 10-2 missing cut is unreal. He's just commenting about that. Azul, who was not at the tournament, basically said, I don't think he's going to attend any events anymore if X2 isn't guaranteed to make a top cut, which I agree. And then Nathan Ginsburg, who played really well on Lost Box here at this tournament, same thing. He was 6-2, went 4-0, got 17th place, was not able to get the top cut. And if you're going to give a limit to what you can make to get into day 2, but that limit isn't even good enough for you to make a top cut, then that can't be the cutoff. That's false advertising. That's a bait and switch. That's all these bad things. That's dumb. Make it, say 6-1-1 then, or say you have to have 19 points. A lot of people are going to be really angry because you're walking a real tightrope there. But don't make it 6-2 then. You take the data you have from Louisville now and make an adjustment, because if there's 1,900 players, you have to add a 5th round in day 2 then, because this is not good enough. And it happened in Dortmund as well, right? 31 points was the cutoff. 30 did not make it. So this has to change. I will say, look, I knew I wasn't going to make it, so that's why I didn't perform well in day 2. That's what I'm just going to say. Because if I had gone 4-0, I wouldn't have made it anyway. So what's the point?
Okay.
What's the point?
I want to play. I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here.
Okay, play devil's advocate.
And then I want everyone to know I don't disagree with your core premise, but it's a broken system. But I understand the mindset is at 6-2, the tournament organizers and the way that the math plays out, there's no way to know if 30 is going to be enough. So they have to let X2 players into day 2, right? Because there is a chance, and it purely comes down to how the matchouts play out, whether or not 31 or 30 is going to be the cutoff, and we go to one of those asymmetrical brackets to play in. So I understand the logic of, yes, we have to let it in, but it does stink a lot that those X2 players out of day 1 are playing and hoping that things just break correctly so that they have a chance. So that's what's broken. They did the right thing given the current format, but I agree that the current format does not work, because you can't ask people to play in a tournament that they may or may not have a shot at. The other arguments there is they could be playing for points. You're playing for packs. You're playing for money. If you had won all your games day 2, yeah, you're sitting top 32 finish. You're going to get some money. You're going to get some packs. You're going to get some points. So there's that argument. But the real competitors are there to win the tournament. I'm not showing up to a tournament because I'm got 16th. And yeah, I'd be super satisfied with getting 16th. But if I'm being real, I want to win the tournament. So I think they've got to figure out, like you said, a different way. But I understand why they allow it to happen in the current environment, because the worst thing that could happen is to say, oh, we're only letting 6-1-1 players in, and then the math breaks and 30 would have gotten you in. Then there would be riots outside of the Louisville Convention Center, and you'd have a big problem. So they played it correctly. It's just that their system and their math doesn't currently work.
It doesn't. I mean, over half of your day 2 pool were 6-2 players. So you're telling half of your people that show up for day 2, 90 some odd or 100 some odd players, sorry, you actually have no chance today to make top cut.
Yeah.
But thanks for coming back today. Let's hope you get some money, which is okay. I get it. I'm not going to poo-poo that, but that's just stupid. That doesn't make any sense to me. And how many players, Jared, you being one of them, now I know you had your son with you, but you dropped after you were unable to make day 2, right?
Yes.
Well, why not just keep, why did that matter to you? Because you wanted to make day 2 in order then to win the tournament or get top 8.
Absolutely.
But you dropped. So it's like, if 6-2 doesn't even get you to top 8 potentially, then what's the point of even showing up? If you, and you're not alone in that, everybody, most players, I won't say everybody, unless you're really chasing points, you go to that third loss or tie, you're dropping because you're like, I can't win anymore. And so it's like, but people that go 6-2, they're not dropping because they think, oh, I can still win, but they can't win. So it just doesn't. The logic doesn't make sense. I don't.
I agree.
get
I
the
agree.
thing.
They need to keep working it out. I will say I did like an 8-round first day versus a 9-round first day.
There's
Like,
a big difference between that 8th and 9th
oh,
round, for sure.
goodness
And I
gracious.
appreciated the no lunch. I know that's like, Republican or Democrat. Like, I know that's like a split thing in the room sometimes, but it's like, no lunch, dude. Let's just get this done. Just get your peanut butter crackers and get your Pop-Tarts and grind it, man.
I'll make one more pitch format, and then I want to talk meta with you a little bit.
And then I have one more thing too I want to add.
Okay. I still like the Lorcana format for large tournaments.
Yeah.
And we talked about this too, right? How are you supposed to have 3 games in 50 minutes? The way that Lorcana does it, at least last time I checked, is you're guaranteed 2 games. If you win, you're getting a lot of points. If you go 2-0, you're getting a lot of points because that's very hard to do. If you split, you're getting a little bit of points. And then if you lose, you get nothing. And then it but I understand they don't do a round robin. Theirs is very different. Like,
sure.
It's
like a bracket, right? Isn't
it? The day 2 is a bracket.
Okay.
But the day 1 is Swiss.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I'm trying to figure out, yes, the math is off in the larger context of this, but I don't know that people are still satisfied with having, like, if we could get rid of ties, that'd be awesome. How can we get rid of ties? And I'm not saying let's Japan this up and go best of ones. It's just tough. The logistics of figuring out this aren't easy. I don't want to be super critical of it, but it's definitely not working as it is.
No, you're right. I think that could be interesting, where you just say, hey, we're playing 2 matches. So don't worry about the time. Let's play at a timely manner. Don't take 5 minutes an action.
Right.
But you got 2 matches. So it's like, can you win on offense and can you win on defense, right? Like, can you win going first and can you win going second, or whatever your preference is?
Sure.
Right? You can choose whoever loses, whoever loses, I guess, gets to pick. So that could be really cool. I just think they need to pivot in season when they see something that isn't working. And my point to this was going to be, you arbitrarily, Pokemon, picked what you know what the cutoff is, Jared, before they add another round to a regionals?
No.
2,049. Okay, that is a random number. I'm sorry. And maybe they had some data to back that up, which I hope they did. But that is just arbitrarily pulling a number out of your booty. 2049. That's not the correct number. So take the data you have and move that back down. Call it 1915 or 1920. I think is more appropriate. And if the tournament is under that amount, then keep it where you're at. And that's fine. But if it goes over that amount, add that other round in, because now they have, and it's not a huge sample size, but it's enough of these tournaments that just were around that bubble of players. So just adjust it, just move it down 100 people. And then I think everybody might be a little bit happier, because then if you're under that amount, it's okay. If you're over that amount, you have a 5th round, and then nobody's really complaining at that point.
Or
that'd
just
be my 2 cents.
Go to the bracket, go to a full bracket, day 2, March Madness this up, day 2. But I understand people want to play more Pokemon. Swiss lets you have a bad game in a bracket. Sorry, bad game, you're out.
You could add in resistances again, and you take the top. So 64 is how they do March Madness. So what's 64 times 2? 128. So you could take top 128. Some people might be mad about that. You might have to go 256. Take the top 256 and just build it into a bracket. And that would take 8 rounds to get you to a champion, which is how many they do. 7 rounds right now, 4 in Swiss,
top 8. Yep.
And then 3 in the top 8. So that's 7. If there's an asymmetrical match, that's 8. Just boom, we solved it. That would be so cool. You're already doing a number for qualifications for Worlds is 125. It's like a set number. Say top 256, make it day 2. And then you just bracket it. Oh, I mean, that would be cool.
That would be pretty neat.
That's my vote. I change it. You're right. I got you. I'm with you, Jared. Bracket, baby.
Love it.
Why? What are we doing? Let's do it in the parent tournament. Add it to the parent
I
tournament.
love it. They're old school. They're more familiar with brackets.
Wow.
Oh man, I guess it just I guess the downside to that is you make day 2, your day 2 could be done like that. Could be but that is I guess that is what it is, right?
I mean, there are probably people in that room that they were 6-2 and then they lost or tied, they dropped. Like now they're going for the money, so they probably didn't. But like that's fine. Like you made it, you get one game in that day, and then you go do something else. Cheer
That's
your
true.
friend
There's
on.
other things to do at the tournament. We'll see how they play it out, but we did want to comment on that because it's something to keep an eye on. Again, not trying to be hypercritical, but we're always looking for fairness. We're always looking for
Yeah.
opportunities for as we get better, we want tournament organizers and the administrative people at Pokemon to get better as well. But overall, tournament ran on time, a lot of fun. And let's talk a little meta, Cory, before we get into our educational moment.
Okay.
I'm going to throw a hot take at you right now.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever said this on this podcast before.
Oh shoot! Should I get a pen and write it down?
There is no best deck in the format right now.
Oh my god! I can't find a pen. What?
I don't think there's a best deck in the format right now.
Really?
Yeah. Looking at the results, like you tell me. Okay, so Raging Bolt won in Japan, and then yes, it took down Louisville. Would you feel safe looking me in the eye and saying right now Raging Bolt is the best deck?
No. I can't say Raging Bolt's the best deck.
I know last week we were super high on Dragapult. We did not see a lot of that in Louisville.
Yeah.
We feel like it's a very strong deck, but I'm looking like even as I look through meta shares, like the highest meta share deck was at about 15%.
Yeah.
Which says to me, no, like this isn't last season when Charizard was a third of the field. Like it, and that's what makes it fun right now. But anything could win right now, Cory. Anything.
Sure.
Nothing is overpowered in my mind.
I don't think anything is overpowered besides Dusknoir. I think Dusknoir is still kind of broken. I believe if you were to play it evenly across the board, like who was like you what's another way to example? Like you say Tord, you play this deck, and like he plays each deck at each tournament. I think the one he does best at would be the Terrapagos. I think Terrapagos. I've been playing a little bit on live.
I believe you mean Terrapagos.
Terrapagos. I thought I said it right. Terrapagos. I think that's the best deck in the format.
No.
I think it is with the Dusknoirs, with the Noctowls, with the Pidgeot. I think if more people were on it, if that would have been the highest shared deck, there would have been 4 in top 8. I think it's so good.
There was one in
top
8.
It's not played as much. There's not many people on it. Raging Bolt is like, I'll just pick up Raging Bolt.
But it was the second most played deck in day 2, and I believe that was true of day 1 as well. Like I could be wrong about that. Like no,
Raging Bolt.
No, Raging Bolt was the number 1 deck in both days, but tell me why. I just don't believe it. Like I still think that deck has its weaknesses, and you can get this deck in position. You can get Dusknoir in any position where you can eliminate its effectiveness. Like I personally don't. I believe Dusknoir is good. I don't think it's overpowered. We haven't seen it just dominate. And I believe there's a reason that people aren't running it.
I think Raging Bolt is it's a great tournament deck, and it doesn't really get you in weird spots. It's consistent. It's basic. It kind of checks off a lot of those kind of boxes. But I think when push comes to shove, the best deck that you feel most comfortable on that can win in all the different types of matchups, I think is Terrapagos. Because and the Dusknoir, I know it hasn't. It did, like in Dortmund, it did perform well. Was it Lima? It was 4 in the top. It was the Dragon Bolt with the Dusknoir. And so I just think that I don't know. I'm closer to you on saying there isn't a best deck. Like there's a lot of really good decks, but there's not that S tier. But I think if you were to say I am playing a deck for my life, I'm not going to play Raging Bolt. Give me Terrapagos. Give me Terrapagos for one match for my life, because I just think it can do more. It can pivot and do more than Raging Bolt can. I just think you just can get susceptible. You just Iono to 2 sometimes, and it's like they get lucky. Okay, you got lucky. Like we saw Caleb. Caleb, great player, and clear 4th regional win. This guy is a stud. But there was like Iono to 2, and he, didn't have anything on his top 2 cards, spun the Pokestop, got the energy retrieval, the POW pad. It is exactly what he needed.
See, look behind you, sir. Look behind you right now. Day 1 deck analysis.
Yeah, look at 271 of them.
I know, but it wasn't behind. It was behind
202.
Raging Bolt. And look, Dragapult. There were a lot of Dragapult players there too.
68 less decks. You flip that. There's 4 in top 8. If Terrapagos had 271 of them, there'd be 4 in top 8.
I just don't know. Like,
That's
okay,
a lot of decks, Jared.
if you're saying your whole Tord thing, like, and we talked about this, like, it was really interesting to see the top 8 and see who was playing what. Like, some of the best players in the world are not playing the deck that you're saying is the best. And I know everybody experiments throughout the year, but like, I'm looking for a big name this tournament that was on Terrapagos.
Wasn't Gabriel was on it, right?
Gabriel's on it, but
yeah,
like,
he's a big player.
He's a big player, but like,
look at the Dustnor. Look at the Dustnor count. It has Crystal here, but this is Dustnor for Dragonpult. So you're at like 25%, 30% of the decks had Dustnor in it. At least had Dustnor in it. That's a third of the field had 1 card.
I know. I'm
Pokemon.
Two of the top 8 decks had it in. I'm saying it's good. I don't think it's overpowered. But looking forward, as we get closer to when Surging Sparks release, which is the new set, I do think that Terra Pokemon are going to continue to be stronger, harder, better, faster, stronger, and we'll get better. Like it's always the changing of the guard, right, Cory? It's like the remaining Vs are still hanging on, right? Lugia is hanging on by a thread until rotation, until
Palkia is chilling.
Palkia, right? But eventually the guard changes. But right now, I think we're in this weird middle place where it's like, and that's fun. I don't think I saw the same deck twice in the 6 rounds that I played.
You didn't see the same deck twice?
Nope.
Seriously?
Nope.
Okay, well, that's weird. I mean, I think I saw Raging Bolt 2 of my first 4 matches. And then I think I saw Regidrago at least 3 of my last 4, or maybe 2 of the last 4. But yeah, I mean, there is a lot of parity. There is. This isn't Charizard, like you said earlier, on 24% of the meta share. It's not, which is great. We love that. I just think your question was, what's the best deck in the format? I think it's the Terrapagos with the Dustnor. I think it just is. And even if it's not the most played deck, I still think like 20. So the conversion rate was pretty good. 23. So it went up.
It stayed about the same, but what fell off there is Dragapult. Dragapult was the 3rd most played deck in day 1, and then comes swooping in there is Regidrago, which I think is a deck in decline personally.
Yeah.
But that's just me personally. Obviously, a lot of people still want to play that.
Yeah.
But that was a super fun tournament for me to play at because it felt more wide open, and I hate it. I hate it when there is a clear best deck, and you either choose to play it or you choose to oppose it. And I'm thinking back through the days like Zorogarb. If Zorogarb was clearly the best deck, and if you weren't playing Zorogarb, you were a fool. Or so many different times, and it's like, no, this is fun. Like, there's so many options, and anything can win.
That's unfair because you're basically saying, like, well, if you didn't have Michael Jordan on your team, you couldn't win. I mean, Zorogarb is a bad example because that's not the best deck in its format. That's the best deck to ever have lived. Your reference point is the best deck ever, right? It just is. I don't. Lux Chomp or what? No, it was Zorogarb. The deck could do everything. I'm sorry. There just isn't. It could compete now. It would win. It would have won the Louisville regionals if Zorogarb was in play, Jared. It just would have. Like, I'm sorry. It would have won. Like, I'm shutting down all your abilities. It's having to 2-shot everything, which is a little rough. But I'm sure there's a way to add in area 0 and make your bench 8. Maybe Zoro could hit for bigger numbers, but speak of the devil, isn't it coming back in Surging Sparks? Isn't the Zoroark EX?
Oh, I don't know. I have not looked enough at the new set, but I was looking at the Japanese card set the other day, and it looks like there's going to be some really cool stuff coming. But we'll see, man. But that's all I'm saying. I'm just trying to say, like,
Sure.
this isn't the age of a dominant thing. It's not a perfect meta, but I feel like it's a fun meta given all the top 8s that we're seeing, because any A tier, S tier, some B tier can even sneak in there and make a run. Whereas in past times, it was much harder.
It was. You're right. Cool.
So looking forward to some of the tournaments that we have coming up, I think you could convince me that any of these top decks, whether it's Lugia, Raging Bolt, Regidrago, Dragapult, Control, sure, make me an argument for why it's the best, and I could get on board with it. So it's going to be very interesting to see, until Surging Sparks hits tournament legality, what can win.
What can men do against such hate, Jared?
It's so wide open, but it'll be fun. The game feels really great. I still think there's some tricky little things out there, like we're seeing Gravity Stone played with Banette, which is really fun.
Yeah,
we saw some fun stuff at the side tables. There's a lot of options for you to try, and it's a great time to play Pokemon.
It is a great time. It's a great time. I know tournament structure, whatever, this or that, but it's, the scene is still growing. The community are great. I'm just trying to pick highlights from our first segment there. Just it's a great time to be playing. Hop in, play the game, man.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, let's get some education going, Cory.
Educate me.
So I actually want to talk a little bit here about my experience based on the ultimatum I gave last episode. And
the DD, you mean?
Yeah, the DD.
You struggle with DD,
and really, I just want to treat my tournament experience as a case study for a lot of the education moments that we have been going through. I'm going to pick 2 or 3.
Okay.
So last week we talked about a lot of people going into a tournament the week before, the night before, have deck doubt, where they've practiced one thing, they feel most comfortable at one thing, and for a number of different reasons that you can listen to on last episode, at the last minute they make a switch.
Yeah.
I felt that. I didn't make a switch. I'm happy I didn't make a switch, and I think I played really well because of it.
Mm-hmm.
I got you and I a little gift before this last game that I gave to you at the hotel.
I thought I got another gift. I got excited.
Well, we can talk about that later. But this was my first tournament, and I've played in many regionals, ever taking notes.
Yeah.
And I did the things that I practiced what I preached on this podcast. I took my first turn when I played a Buddy Poffin. If I got to play a Nest Ball, if it was my second turn, I'd play a Supporter. Found all my Pokemon.
Yep.
Found them all. And then if any were missing, I would jot them down at the notepad. Okay, I know that's in there. Then I would look, maybe do an energy count or an ace spec look, or some of my more important, like superior energy retrieval and Gholdengo is very important. Mm-hmm. And I would jot that down. If I got to play Hisuian Heavy Ball at any time during the game, I would jot that down. Yep. I can't tell you how much of a difference that made in my tournament play. I got bounced from the tournament. I was not a day 2 performer. I have never played better Pokemon than I did at the Louisville regional, and I got bounced in the 6th round.
Yeah.
I think I felt so good about how I played. I did not make one game error, which is something we've talked about. I didn't do something that I shouldn't have done. The other great thing that I did, that I know this isn't like you should do this, I never looked at my cards when it was my opponent's turn. I had my cards down. I watched my opponent their entire turn and made sure they were doing everything correctly. There's a couple times I caught them doing stuff that they weren't doing on purpose. But we had to fix it. We had to call a judge. And it just made me pay attention more to the game. The last thing that I'll mention is I prize mapped better than I ever have before.
That's good.
And by prize mapping, I'm thinking turns ahead. I'm looking at my board state, their board state, trying to figure out how they're prize mapping against me. all of these things, Cory, led to winning games that I would have lost if I was just playing Pokemon.
Yeah, for sure.
So I
Yeah.
feel really great about my tournament performance. I pulled off some things that I would never have before.
Hmm.
I made quits when I needed to make quits and moved to game twos.
Good.
I got better
Yeah.
as a result of the education that we're doing on the show. I hope you all are too. But I
Yeah.
just wanted to say I bounced, I think, like 3-1-2 drop, or maybe it was even 2-2-2-1 drop. I can't remember. It's either round 5 or 6.
Hmm.
But I'm playing better Pokemon.
Yeah.
And I'm
You are.
proud of the Pokemon that I played at Louisville. And I still
Mhm.
have a long way to go if I ever want to make a day 2.
Yeah.
But that's what it was about for me. Like, I played better. I got to be with my son. I got to hang out with my friends. Check mark.
Yeah.
Successful tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll say shout out to the notes. That was big too. I think I personally, and I think people struggle with this, is like just getting over the awkwardness of like taking more time on your first turn. Because it takes a good minute and a half, maybe even 2. And I think again, that's acceptable for your first search because you and your opponent know what each other are doing, because most likely they're doing the same thing. And it's nice to know, okay, this barrel's prized, or yeah, my prime catcher's in the prizes. And sometimes it actually lets you play a little differently, because even though you're not guaranteed to pull, like if I knew I had a boss in the prize, I kind of game plan for that. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a knockout here on an EX. I'm taking 2 prizes. I have 4 left. My odds, half of the odds, 50-50 says I'm going to get that boss. And then that prepares me for the next turn, And so by knowing your prizes is essential. I think for me, it felt like you're kind of playing the game, not as much chance anymore, like that you have more control of what's happening because you know what your prizes are. The unknown thing in the game of Pokemon, you now know what's in there. And if you do that effectively, and I'm sorry, it puts your opponent on edge a little bit. It just does. When they see you doing that, they know,
You
oh,
mean
man,
business.
you mean business. Yeah. I will say it was hard for me, and I don't know if this was for you. And I think it was the doing it in game 2 and game 3 is I tend to, if the trend was, if I won game 1, I did it exactly the same in game 2. If I lost game 1, I was like, nah, this is stupid. Like, I'm not. I'm going to do a really quick search. I'm going to count my energies, because really in my version of Gholdengo, how many did you have in yours? How many energy?
I had 11 energy.
You had 11. So I had 10. And it just always came down to, like, if I'm knocking out a Charizard, I need 7 energy plus the 1 on the Gholdengo. So I need 8 of my 10 energies in play to even get this knockout. So in game 2s where I was like upset, I just would be like, count my energies. And I was like, okay, 1's in the prizes, or 2's in the prize. Okay, whatever. And then game 3, usually you're up against the clock at that point. So it's just like turbo. Like I would just, and so I wasn't as good games 2 and 3 with writing notes as I was game 1. So I don't know. That was one thing I noticed. And then the other educational moment that I used in practice, especially as I was getting to like round 7 and round 8, those like must wins, it was just the breathing. It was just the take a breath, like put the cards on the table while your opponent's doing some stuff. Just breathe. You're good right now. Just breathe. And I use that heavily, and it does calm you. It does. And I think that is one, no matter if it's a cup or challenge or pre-release, your Apple iWatch, if you have one, tells you to breathe every so often. So I think that was a really good point that you mentioned a few episodes ago too, is just a simple practice of breathing. So the educational moments are paying off, Jared. They're paying off, man. They are
good. It's just as good for us as it is for our listeners. We're trying to get better too. We're trying to emulate best practices. And yeah, we want to win, but Pokemon is not always as easy as if you make the perfect play, the perfect read every time, you're guaranteed a win. There is variance, there is percentages. Your opponent could just have you beat from the go. And even if you play perfectly, you can't. So a lot to be learned. I enjoyed talking with my son through some of these things as well.
Yeah.
It's just a great game. There's just a lot to learn to get better at it. There's a lot to learn from it in terms of just getting better at life as well.
For sure, man. Love it. Well, it was a great trip. We had a good time. For sure, New Orleans, maybe.
I would love to be at Nationals. That sounds lovely.
Maybe squeak in a little San Antonio. Maybe. Who knows? Yeah. Either way, we're going to be here talking about it every week, so it'll be fine. But we're excited to see what's coming down the pike. And I'm pumped to have a Trevenant poster here.
Yeah, the studio's slowly becoming more. They had a lot of great spooky posters, and they really hammed it up on stream, I will say as well.
They should just bring it back, like Trevenant EX Stage 1, 270 HP. Ability says as long as this is active, your opponent can't play any item cards, and its attack for 1 energy spreads 30 damage to all your opponent's Pokemon.
Oh, okay. So you don't really
Easy.
want to play Pokemon. You just
what? That wouldn't be that bad. Just
I don't think that Trevenant ever won a Nationals or Worlds.
No, it was always just on the cusp, right? It was a great expanded deck too. The Phantom, because it could astonish, or not astonish, it could evolve, right? So you could go second, and it could just find the Trevenant, and then your opponent couldn't play items anymore. But there was ways around it. Everybody would have a Iron Bundle in their deck just to move the Trevenant out of the active if they could. But maybe just bring it back, Pokemon. That'd be fun. That wouldn't be toxic. So let's do that.
Wouldn't be toxic.
Because the sad part is, Jared, your response might be, well, just canceling Cologne. Well, you can't play that because you can't play an item card. So you can't even turn off the poor Trevenant's ability. So
you're right. Run Iron Thorns.
Run
Iron Thorns. Just run Iron Thorns. You can play whatever you want.
Oh, the Iron Thorns. That you want to have just a slug match. Do Gholdengo into Iron Thorns. It is just so much fun. Oh, the best. I should have won that though. Dang it. Dang nabbit.
Let it go, old man. Let it go. Well, Corey, let me ask you this. Do you know what our next tournament is that we're going to be covering?
Lil or Lily? Lil?
I do not know.
Lil is this weekend. I just don't know how to pronounce it. Lil. So that's the next one. I mean, do you have a quick, what do you think is going to take it down, Jared? A good old European tournament here?
I think we'll see more of the same with, I think, more of a Dragapult presence.
Dragapult.
We saw it. I mean, we saw it win in Dortmund. Dragapult, for whatever reason, just has a very European feel to me. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say expect to see more of Dragapult. But I'll take like I said, anything can win. I'll take a Charizard win. Charizard Dusknoir win.
Yeah, it's going to be. And shame on us for not talking about Lost Box. Had a nice little comeback in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would have won. There's a boo-boo in game 3. It cost the double price penalty. I think Lost Box wins the tournament. It wouldn't have been Raging Bolt if there hadn't been a little boo-boo there. So Lost Box is probably back. You called it. We didn't give you your flowers either on that. You're selecting flowers. No pun intended there. But
my flower selecting.
Flower selecting, and kudos to Comfy. But Lost Box made its return. I think it wins. Lil. I think Lost Box comes back, takes this tournament down.
Or the dragon flies high and the one of Kyurem's come into everybody's deck.
Well, maybe it's either Tord on Terapagos or it's Lost Box. It's one of those two. I'm gonna make 2 selections for this tournament. So
I like it.
Cool.
I like it. Well, I'm excited to see more Pokemon being played. We'll see how the meta shifts. We'll talk about that tournament next week. Tune in, shoot us a comment, a like, a subscription. If you're on the podcast, thank you for listening. If you're on the YouTube, subscribe, man. We would love it. We're growing. We're doing things. We're going to have our second studio space ready here in about a month's time.
Oh, dude.
So you can hear Jared in full non-gamer headset audio, which is exciting.
I can't wait.
Just big things happening. And there's something at that studio that is going to be a game changer.
It's going to be a game changer. Yeah. And sponsored by the Tennessee Titans. They're the sponsor of the studio there. Maybe if they win another game, who knows? Maybe Will Levitz can stop by. He strikes me as a Pokemon player, the quarterback of the Titans. I bet he plays Pokemon.
He might play some Pokemon. That'd be good to know.
He seems a little off the wall.
I think he was sitting next to me round 3. Because Lord knows he doesn't want to show up to the football stadium.
He not showing up to the football stadium. Yeah, he was eating mayonnaise, I think, across from me at the him and Josh Allen were both there together. Shout out. But yeah, that'll be fun to have that studio. Yeah.
It will. Well,
that's
gonna wrap us up this week for Teach Me Pokemon. Corey, our listeners, our fellow competitors. We'll catch you later.
Catch you later.
You can find us at roguemedianetwork.com. Teach Me Pokemon
skull.
Podcast. Come and dive
The
with us.
skull.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.